Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Larchmont. It is Monday, February 7th. Let the record show that the entire board is present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. We don't have a flag today, sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful. Thank you so much. My announcements is going to be a very short section tonight, but this should be our last, this is planned to be our last virtual meeting, hopefully forever. But we're moving back to in-person meetings next week on the 15th with a budget session, and that will be open to the public to observe but not participate. And that will be in the 3rd floor conference room at Village Hall. It may be possible that we'll also be able to have a hybrid model with a link to Zoom. We're working on that technology to be able to do that. Next up, I have an appointment to a committee, and this is for the Environmental Committee. So I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Brennan, who is liaison to the Larchmont Environmental Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I'd like to make a motion to add Anthony Sorrell to the Larchmont Environmental Committee. He's been a resident here in Larchmont since 1992. He has worked for the last 5 years at the Federated Conservationist, working on climate change, and is really interested in the initiatives that our LEC is working on. Not to mention that he's an avid fisherman, so he has a real interest in our nature. So with that, I'll move to add him to LEC. Do I have a second? Second. You want to say all in favor, or should I?
I'll say it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you. And thank you to Anthony for joining our Environmental Committee, which has been doing incredible work these last couple of years, really groundbreaking. And I see so many communities and even states following in our footsteps in terms of leaf blower bans. I believe I saw someone in the news just this week considering a statewide ban. I think it was California. So next up, we have the presentation by the Flint Park Conservancy. They have been presenting to the Parks and Trees Committee and to the Board of Trustees a quite ambitious park renovation for Flint Park over the last many, many months. They've come to us several times. We've gone back to them with additional questions and tweaks. They've gathered together a lot of information. They are at the stage where we are having them present today at the regular public board meeting. The hopes are that then this project moves into the next phase, which is actually the implementation, the planning and implementation, which really will take us many, many, many months before a shovel goes in the ground. But it's an exciting project, and we're all eager to see their presentation and hear from some of the members of the public who have been working with them and are in support of this plan. We're going to bring in LMC Melissa Manis, please, as a panelist. And A. Rafi. And we'll just wait a moment while people's status in Zoom land gets switched over so that they can present their materials. LMC, we need Melissa Manis, A. Rafi, and Laura Brancato. brought over as panelists, please. Thank you. Okay. Which one of you is going to share your screen and start your presentation?
Mal, are you behind the photo there?
We hope she is.
Right. I am so sorry. I was sharing my screen and thought I was unmuted. Apologize for that. Let me try it again. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Let me just do a quick screen share test, and then I'd love to just introduce the whole team, but let me just test my screen share. I apologize. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so on tonight is a quorum of our leadership team, the Flint Working Group. I'd love to introduce Laura Brancato and Alison Rafi. We also have Laura Rosenthal and Carolyn Dorfman as part of the team spearheading the Flint Park Master Plan proposal. So I'd love to just quickly start. Alison, Laura, did you have anything? Just want to test to make sure your mics are working okay before we kick off.
I think I'm working.
You're working. Okay, Alison, how about you?
All good.
So I think what is most remarkable and exciting about both project and the legacy of private-public parks partnerships in this village is that there's a team that's come together that on the heels of two exciting parks projects that have just been completed during the last several years, one of which is Turtle Park and the second of which is Constitution Park. So Laura and Allison on tonight are from the Turtle Park group. Carolyn Dorfman and I represent the Flint Park Conservancy, and then Deb Mayer and Laura Rosenthal have been representing the Constitution Park team. So just as we quickly kick off, tonight's presentation is really focused on phase one of a three-phase master plan that we've been undertaking for the past about 2 years. And it's really intended to be a 5-year plan kicking off in 2022 with the hope of completion by 2026. So ambitious, but we'll talk tonight about sort of the comprehensive phase one plans for restoration. So with that, something just exciting on a historical note we learned as we were kicking off our own kind of forensics for this project is that 2022 marks the 100th anniversary of Flint Park. So if you're curious and interested in learning more about Flint, we have launched a website called flintpark.org, and a little bit about the sort of past, present, and what we hope for as the future of Flint. But just in setting the stage tonight, our kind of core project goals, and we'll talk about some of the stakeholders and incredible partnerships that we've had as we've been trying to kind of bring this plan to life. But really, the core goals focus on sustainability, preservation, and then recreation. We know this is an incredible center of passive and active recreation in this small village, but we're really trying to introduce a plan for sustainability. And when we think about preservation, it's really environmental protection, but also knowing that the buildings, two of the legacy buildings that sit in Flint Park, are 100 years old and are really committed to the preservation of these historic buildings. So this is long, but we'll try and be as brief as humanly possible. Lorraine, was the hope tonight, Mayor Walsh, for us to go through the core amenities improvements in all of phase one? Is that correct? That was my understanding.
Yes,
tonight.
all of phase one, correct. Yeah.
Is there like a time clock? Do you just tell us? We'll try and be, I just want to make sure, because I can talk fast, but I just don't know how much you want to.
You be succinct and thorough, but there's no
Okay.
time limitation.
Okay, wonderful. So, we can be brief on this, but the park has had some tremendous support over the years for elements like the playground and Alma, and in the last 20 years, really also a commitment to the incredible landscape that's also surrounding the sound with the nature walk that so many of us know and love. So there is a history of renovation in this park, and we really try to both meet with and understand what some of those private public parks partnerships looked like. But it also, what came to light through this is that we really want to introduce on a go forward basis a new model for sustainability of the park, so that some of the revenue that's captured is able to be used in kind of an evergreen way for sustainable maintenance of the park, because we know that it is challenging every 15, 20 years to go through a whole comprehensive overhaul. So we're in doing, we know that there's also on the funding mix side some local grant support, and we've been really trying to also understand and work with the county to understand where there might be other sort of sources of funding available. So that is certainly part of the funding mix here. And in presenting, I will say, in the history of our presentations to Parks and Trees Committee, as well as the village, the DPW has been fantastic in providing us some of the legacy sort of assets on the survey side. But I will say, just in starting off today, that we did undertake a comprehensive survey so that we understand sort of what's kind of truly underneath the sort of underbelly of this historic park, because it has had a variety of uses over the past 100 years. And so that was something that was really important as we sought to sort of understand these improvements and the sort of topography of this area. So this is the 2021 survey that was undertaken. It's an active hyperlink, so I don't think I need to go into that today. But I think something that I'll let Laura speak to is just, I think many on the call today are quite familiar with this beloved park, but just speaking to kind of the currents of the park, Laura.
Great, thanks, Mel. As Mel mentioned, I'm Laura Brancato, and I worked with Allison Raffi and others on the Turtle Park project, most recently, and behind the scenes on Constitution Park. But this park really, I think we can all agree, is of a very different scope. It reaches all different areas, from recreation in terms of our organized youth sports leagues in the village, to even, the passive use of some of the nature walks in the back. And then certainly it meets the needs of the smaller kids in the playground, but maybe doesn't meet everybody's needs in every area of the park. So trying to re-envision, while keeping all of the assets in their current location, updated uses and maybe even expansion opportunities in terms of different ways to use maybe some of the underutilized portions of the park. But certainly this slide speaks to the current state. Anybody who's been there recently will see that there are certainly amenities that are past useful life, and from an Alma field perspective, maybe even past safety regulations. So we certainly want to be looking at how we can improve. And so everything that you see here in the current state of the park would be addressed in phase 1. You can move, Mel. And Allison will talk more about the playground, but these are just some current shots of the playground. So one of the things that Melissa mentioned was, really improving upon the infrastructure in the park. And one of the key decisions is to connect all of the interior pathways in the park. So these are just 2 really good examples of pathways that either never got completed or washed away over time. And we really want the park to have a full loop on the interior for walking or biking or scooter riding or whatnot. And also to really address the infrastructure in terms of restrooms and water fountains and things like that. So here 1.5 miles of new interconnected pathways and improvement on all of the existing pathways. Phase 1 would include the all-age playground, which we'll hear about from Allison, and certainly we'll touch on the most used fields at least in the field Flint front, and basketball court. And of course, keeping a very close eye on the existing native tree canopy and making some enhancements and beautification as the pathways go in. Go ahead, Mel. I think we could move past this one. So we're talking about a 3-phase project, as Melissa mentioned. The first would be on the highest use amenities and those that are really past useful life. The second phase being some of the building work, where the village can recapture some revenue in terms of rental opportunities at the Playhouse and the tennis pavilion. And the third, really addressing anything that doesn't get addressed in phase 1 and 2, but definitely looking at sustainability and accessibility and potential 4-season uses for the park. Though I think we can all agree it definitely gets used all 4 seasons as it currently is. So enhancing some of those opportunities.
One just real quickly, Laura, that I'm realizing, and I know there's a faction of the paddle leadership on tonight's call.
Yes.
As we've been doing, just, again, some real kind of deep dives into the state of the park. We did a community-wide survey to approximately 500 residents to kind of do kind of a needs assessment of what, people think that they use the most and least of, but also the state of amenities. Something that came up very late in the game, but is really imperative to bring up tonight, is that the paddle courts were actually put in phase 3, as you see here, and we've actually moved them up to phase 1 because of the current end of life condition. So that's something that has been amended from our original plan, and I apologize that was not updated here. Okay, so phase 1, just real briefly, is okay. I'll let Laura kick it off.
So again, you're looking at the park, obviously an overview as if you were driving in the main driveway, and Flint A and B would be on your left. And that gray area at the bottom left of your screen is the existing parking lot. So really just re-envisioning Flint Front A and B, which are the most used, especially by the soccer league, the LJSL, which is Larchmont's own soccer league, really focusing on how do the teams that play, that incorporate the village residents, where do they utilize space and how do they utilize it? So making this field slightly bigger to allow maybe more than one game at a time. We're working with LJSL on field design, enhancing one of the existing baseball fields there, and really making the priority for Flint Front is to enhance the quality of the grass. Currently, it suffers from poor drainage, and anyone who has little leaguers will know that many Saturdays or Sundays you actually have to drain the field first with plastic buckets before the kids can play. So this will envision a new sand slit drainage system that will allow the field to dry within 30 minutes, which improves grass quality. We would use a very high quality sod replacement here, and be very diligent about how we maintain the grass in the front to assure that we have a really high quality playing surface. If you look at the top, I guess the middle of your screen where it says soccer, and I think if you go forward, Mel, we'll see individual slides about these. So yeah, what's highlighted there in yet red would be what would be covered in phase 1, with the exception of paddle, which should be highlighted there too in the middle. But here we're talking about redoing the main, the most highly used areas of the park.
And paddle stays in its current location. I sincerely apologize that this is outdated, but it is has moved from 2 courts to 3, Mayor Walsh, and I know that the most recent submission has that amendment. I apologize.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you keep moving, Mel, because then we'll get to the actual slides of each thing, I think. Yeah, so here is a closer look. So not only are we talking about improving the field space, but if you look to the bottom right of your screen, they're also really having more purposeful plantings that surround and really outline all of the playing areas. And then, of course, increasing the pathway that runs along East Creek there, so that those who traverse the park from the inside would have a complete way to get from the interior of Flint all the way to the middle school on the bottom left of your screen there. You can keep going, Mel. So this is the proposed future use of AMA field. So AMA is the only turf surface that we have inside Flint Park. It is a useful surface in that it serves lots of different types of sports. The proposal here would be to slightly enlarge the field, allowing it to be divided into two to increase the revenue opportunity for the village, allow two sports leagues to play at the same time, and also to allow more people to access it. We heard a lot of feedback about how many teams don't need the whole space and can't afford the whole space, but would certainly use half. So this could be a way to address those things. And then to reconsider the use of the type of surfacing. As many options as you can think actually exist in terms of green field surface here. So we have investigated and are working with the village to determine the appropriate type of surface for our use here in the village and the required maintenance plan, making sure we have the required maintenance in place. It would also include the replacement of the entire fence and some new seating areas to border hammocks. Included also in phase one is the update of the basketball courts. So here we're proposing post-tension concrete surface, which is a surface that can last 25 years or more without cracking or need to repaint or realign anything. Obviously, all new basketball hoops, but the orientation of the court would just shift slightly away from the playground, but in all of the ways would stay the same, except would be certainly more beautiful and aesthetically pleasing than what we have in that space at the current time. And now I will pass it over to Allison.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Mel. A brand new Flint playground is going to be included in phase one. I think you can see from the previous pictures that that's a need-based area and one where we can have a great impact and increase the enjoyability for both children's, teens, and adults. So can we just go to the next slide, please? So the existing playground is almost 20 years old. It definitely needs updating, both for the quality of the materials and the available play elements in the playground, but also for safety and accessibility. We also want to increase the inclusivity elements of the playground and make sure that there are play events for children of all needs and interests available throughout the Flint Park playground. The design is intended to keep the current playground footprint and also to continue the use of natural materials. Right now, the play elements are largely wood-based. It goes with the natural surroundings, and that's something that we've emphasized in the design, and that we've picked a manufacturer who can stay consistent within those, consistent and honor that type of design. The new design, as you'll see in a moment, does expand the play opportunities for toddler range through child range and into teens and adults in a way that the current playground doesn't. So that's an exciting expansion of the play opportunities. And the playground partner that we have been working with is called Compan Playground Company. They offer a beautiful line of Robania wood play elements, play pieces. And they also offer an exciting opportunity to customize the pieces. So we've opted for a marshland theme throughout the playground to remain consistent with the natural area. And Mel, I think you might be able to just slowly flip through these slides to show everyone the design element. And that will suffice, I think, for the playground. As Mel's flipping through, one thing I'll add is that we've also looked at this at Compan as a furniture provider for updated furniture areas in and around the playground. And they offer a great line of flexible use furniture for caregivers, kids, all park users to be able to enjoy the playground and have food there and safely sit there and seek shade and other, and to be comfortable while children play.
And this is it broken out by
age group events. Exactly. This is the adult and teen outdoor fitness equipment that we're looking at. The concept would be that it provides the type of equipment that's flexible enough for adults to use it for exercise as they're exercising through the park, and that teens can preteens and teens can use it as a Ninja Warrior type experience.
Something that we heard extensively through the community survey is that due to the proximity to Homix Middle School, that there was an interest in seeking a wider age demographic for the play equipment. And so this is something that we, thought about and met at great lengths with Compan about, both in design of the adult and teen equipment, as well as some of the larger play elements in the playground. And here's the furniture, right, Allison?
Correct.
Okay. And this is, again, married to the Rabinia style, but also gives a lot of flexible configurations, lining pathways, and in shaded areas, et cetera. Okay. So speaking briefly to the tree canopy and native planting enhancements, Jim Sanick is our landscape architect that's led this master plan and has partnered with some incredible sort of vendor partners in trying to understand the state of the current tree canopy. It's an incredibly diverse tree landscape in its current state. But what we did find is we did a full tree inventory of the existing trees in the park, and then basically ranked them, and I'll just shift to that, based on the state of current tree health. And so a core part of this plan was really to build upon the beautiful diverse tree landscape as in its current state, but also to really optimize with new plantings, but focusing on native plantings, especially along East Creek and some of the other new areas of connectivity, pathway connectivity. And really, this is not intended to carry on like alarm bells, but really that there is pruning required, and that maintenance of the trees and plantings in the park should be a core focus in this restoration, but also on a go-forward maintenance basis in the park. Just giving a short snapshot, some of the native planting opportunities that we've been looking at with the village. And I think really does provide a tremendous opportunity to build upon our kind of incredible, sort of I guess you'd say notoriety, Mayor Walsh, as a Tree City USA. But this
That's
is something,
right.
This
notoriety works.
Yeah, there will go with notoriety. But in all honesty, we have met with the Parks and Trees Committee many times to present and learn from them on what their core priorities are, and some of their tremendous recent work with native plantings. And so that is a core focus here in Flint. And then improving pathways and greenways. It's an interesting area because you do have a lot of current asphalt surfaces, some that kind of go off nowhere, some stone pathways that sort of also just kind of end as sort of ostensibly bike paths, but then they kind of, as presented, just kind of stop. And so the intention is to provide new interconnected pathways. And something that was a great learning for our team was just how much, a landscape architect looks from the lens of current usage. So he looked at where there's already down pathways and used that as a really passive and natural way to introduce new areas to kind of improve access and flow. Proposed material that he came up with is something that is commonly used in Westchester Parks, as we understand, that's LEED compliant, is an organic lock product that has incredible permeability, which we know is really important in Flint, but also that allows for accessible usage. So strollers, bikes, wheelchairs, and is just intended to be a soft surface, but has edging so it doesn't sort of flow.
Melissa, if I could just ask, is the intention to use that material and not only for new pathways, but to replace the existing asphalt?
That's a great question. The hope was to replace the existing asphalt. So our hope was in our budget was to account for, really an overhaul of some of the existing asphalt surfaces. And this is a product that is certainly a lot less expensive than surfaces like Port and Place, and so forth. So that was the aspiration. Yes.
I think the other thing we have to consider that there are accessibility issues with moving from surface to surface. So I think our idea was that in order to make sure that we didn't run in afoul of any of the federal guidelines, that the pathways would all have to be uniform width and uniform surfacing to avoid issues with, stability between transitions.
Thank you.
No problem. So I guess we have to treat this timeline as a bit of a living breathing. So, but it is on it in the sense that we did kick this off in February of 2019. So it has been years, plural, in the making, with a lovely pandemic in between. But I will say that it has been incredible to pull both the team together on of local residents, but also really work collaboratively with the village. And so we were excited to submit in the middle of 2021. We did our final presentation on sort of a summary of our maintenance proposal in November of 2021. But I will say that we're treating our 5-year plan, Mayor Walsh, as kind of 2022 to 26, knowing that installation and planning hopefully is not sequential, but rather as we're doing phase 1 execution in 2022-23, we can start the planning, and just know that the restoration of the 2 Flint buildings is forthcoming in phase 2, and then that we think that there's tremendous opportunities for some improvements to Flint back. But we kind of have thought about, we're moving front to back in the park and moving from sort of most high needs, end of life amenities to least. And so that's really the intention here. And so I think with that, I do want to say that it really, there are a tremendous amount of stakeholders in this community that are passionate and I think have been powerful partners in this project. I know that Flint Paddle League is on tonight, but we did want to sort of really bring the attention of also the Recreation Department. It's been, really tremendous to learn from Joyce Callahan, who actually lives and breathes the challenges of a really high, a park that is in high demand for recreation. And so we really appreciate the time that the village has been willing to give to kind of learn from and plan for a future Flint. So I think with that, here's our team. Not in evening sweats. So I and then some of the other partners that we alluded to throughout the presentation. So I think that sums it up for our purposes. I don't know, Mayor Walsh, if there was Q intended or how you wanted to sort of open up the floor.
Well, if you have some participants on who wanted to speak from the paddle perspective,
Oh,
we can
sure.
we can allow them to speak at this point. Would that be Annie and Neil?
Yeah, Annie and Neil are both on, and that would be great if we could give them presenter rights or participant access.
Right. So LMC, if you can allow Annie O'Connor and Neil to speak.
Is LMC, I don't know.
Yeah, they're working on it. It
Okay.
takes, there's a little bit of a delay.
No worries. I'll mute myself.
Okay. Annie, Neil? Let's go with Neil first, since he's unmuted.
Okay. On there.
Yeah, hi, Neil.
Hi, thanks, Mayor Walsh. And thank you everyone who's worked on this. My name is Neil Roy. I'm the paddle pro at Flint Park. I've been, watching this progress of this renovation with great interest because the park and the paddle program could really use a boost with the extra court and, having the courts remade from the ground up. So basically, we do lessons over there. There's been a good demand for lessons in the last couple of years. We have some teenagers and kids playing. They're trying to start a high school club team out of Mamaroneck High School, which is great. They had a couple of junior programs in the junior players in the nationals playing. So paddle is definitely, popular in Larchmont. And we have 4 to 5 men's teams playing out of Flint Park right now. The problem is with the 2 courts is like it's impossible to host a match in the time in the evenings before the lights cut out. So you can't have 5 matches played on 2 courts. So it's been a huge, problem for our captains, just like scheduling matches and calling other clubs to try and play. So hopefully we can get 3 courts in. The other is the women's league. We had a lot of interest. We have about 24 women who take lessons right now at Flint Park. A lot of them want to play in the league, but the league won't allow it under current conditions. So hopefully, with our upgrades, we can, add some bathroom access as well, and then have them, join the league and start playing. 'Cause it's a great winter sport. We have a lot of kids coming out now because the parents want them to be outside in the winter as well. So if you can ski, like why not play paddle? They're getting really good at it, enjoying their time outdoors. Just going through like the facility of the club. You've seen the hut that we have. It's like pretty small. So it really stops us from having any kind of fun events, community events over at the paddle hut. We can't really host any tournaments or kind of friendly matches, like a Larchmont Cup or anything like that. You can't really do much over there just because of the facilities. So hopefully we can get it going early rather than later, because the more time we wait, the expense goes up to renovate and build, but also the danger to the players goes up because these courts are built on wood beams, which are rotting out right now. So basically every time people go out and play, they're putting more weight on these rotten wooden beams, and you can really see the surface moving now. And I'm just afraid, with our lessons and everything, if somebody catches a bad board, they could go over and get hurt. So, it's from an injury standpoint, I really, would like to get these done before next season starts in October. So hopefully we can get that done. And just wanted to say, it'd be great if we get a pathway to the courts. That'd be really nice. Those pathways looked great on the presentation. And the other was she's talking about the tree canopy and the native trees. So if you go to a lot of paddle facilities, they will plant trees around the perimeter of the whole facility. One, it's just like a little boundary, and it helps just also when the balls go out of the court, they don't go flying off into somebody else's game or anything like that. It also looks really nice, if you have more trees around there. So hopefully we can get that in as well. And so if we can get these in, it'll be great it'll be great for the town just to have a big outdoor winter activity to look forward to, especially for the kids and the teenage high school kids coming up.
And Neil, you brought up some really good points that we might have inadvertently omitted on accident, but that really the intention was to optimize this as a 4-season park opportunity. And I think paddle is a core part of that. But really, and Mayor Walsh knows this well, the intention at the outset was to actually start with the buildings because we thought that those were a tremendous opportunity for bookable community space. And bathrooms we know are really challenging. But we came to learn is that to your point, a lot of the actual recreational amenities have been sort of deemed unsafe. And so the last thing we want to do is shut down recreation. So we kind of front loaded some of the recreational uses, but it just as recently, and Annie O'Connor knows this as well, that we have been in touch with the paddle that wants to MIPTL
Yeah.
And they did say that that is a requirement, is to have functional bathrooms. And so that is something
Yeah.
that really does need to be sort of central to the phase 2 renovations, is that pavilion. And I think it was also a thought on, do we move paddle because it's a challenging location from a sightlines perspective, but in fact, it's actually its ultimate location to that building, we thought does really sort of help its utility and this kind of center of racket sports. So that was a village decision to keep it in its current location, and that there was space still to add a third court. So I think all positive, but certainly it does seem like demand is there, but it also just optimizes the utility having bathrooms, because then it can be rented, to your point, for leagues and parties and those sorts of things.
Yeah, it just builds more event capability. I think I think the men's league, they don't really care much about that. But I don't know. I feel like it also. I'm also the JV coach for Harrison High School, so we did play at Flint against Mamaroneck, and you guys crushed us, but won't hold it against you. But like again, the bathrooms are used year round by all these kids and players. The tennis players also come out. So and a lot of the kids from the playground and playing basketball and stuff, they all use the same bathroom. And I still see some kids out there playing, even in the dead of winter. So yeah, that'd be great if that could be part of the the facility, like where we could use it all winter. It'll be fantastic.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, Neil.
Annie?
Yes, I figured a few things out. I'm not in my usual Zoom spot, so I apologize for being slow on the uptake there. Thanks, Neil, and also thank you to Mel and the entire Flint Park Conservancy for their efforts, vision, leadership, stewardship regarding this amazing park that we have right in our neighborhood. And, as Neil and Mel have alluded to, our paddle courts are aging and are closing in on the end of their useful and safe life in their current form. Despite the conditions of the courts, however, I think it's just needs to be noted that paddle has been growing in popularity. So, the demand is there, the interest is there, and we have a growing committed community of multi-generational players, as Neil alluded to, ranging from junior clinics to teens, women's clinics, men's leagues, maybe someday a women's team. And I just want to share some numbers that I got from Joyce and from Neil to give an indication of the community that already exists around these dilapidated courts. This past year, the village sells permits to the court to allow access to the courts. And just like with tennis, you can buy an individual permit or a family permit. And obviously a family permit would be for multiple members. I don't know exactly how many members for each family, but this past year we sold 63 individual permits, 28 family or multi-person permits. As Neil said, there are 4 men's teams, and each team has anywhere from 10 to 15, 16 players, and each of them are required to purchase a permit to play on the team. In addition to all of those permit holders, the clinics that Neil runs, clinic participants don't need to hold a permit. They pay to take the clinic. And there's about, I think, 13 clinics for kids, teens, men, and women. And the current count of participants in the clinics is right now at about 60 people. So there is, like I said, we have 2 courts. They're at the end of their useful life, but the demand and the need and the usage is growing and growing, which is great. It's multi-generational. It's in the off season for park usage. So it's just great getting people out in our community park. I will say, as an avid participant myself, the weekends are booked. Weeknights and weekends, you have to book a court days and days in advance to get, your desired time slot. So there really is a committed community of people already. And I do believe that updating the courts, creating facilities for entertainment and watching and community building will just enhance enhance the experience, grow the community for paddle, and get more people into our park, every season. The other thing I just wanted to bring to the attention of this group is that we've been in touch with representatives from the APTA, which is the American Platform Tennis Association, about this project. I've spoken to them over the years about Flint Park. They're aware of the park, they're aware of the courts. They are the governing body nationally for paddle or platform tennis, which it's also known as. And part of their mission is to grow the game. And that's something they're really dedicated to. They are looking to grow the game outside of the country club setting, which is where paddle has been historically played and has grown in popularity. And they have a grants program. And I've spoken to them about the grants program, and they said this type of project where we already have a community, we already have opportunities for growth, we have multi-generations involved, an opportunity to create a women's team, really checks all of their boxes. So, hopefully we're all moving forward in this together. And I would take the lead on applying for a grant there. They said they usually will kick in about 10% of funding for what the estimate is for the paddle portion of the project as kind of funding gap to close any funding gaps and try to kick in that 10% towards the end of the project. So it's something I just wanted this group to know, that the APTA really feels like this is the type of project that they want to support and is part of their mission to grow the game. So I think there's just so many great benefits that paddle has brought to our community already, and I think there's opportunities for a lot more. So we appreciate you hearing us out. We appreciate the partnership with the Flint Park Conservancy, and anything we can do to help the project move forward, we're here for it.
Thanks, Annie. Thank you for your work over these past few years, helping to grow the interest in the paddle tennis program at Flint Park.
It's been a great pleasure. Thanks.
And also for looking into and trying to line up a potential grant for that portion of this renovation. It would every little bit is going to help us get to our goal and make this park really spectacular.
Sorry, Lorraine.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think just to wrap on our side, as Mel mentioned at the start, this is a public-private partnership. And so, of course, this will not get done without private cornerstone donors and private fundraising efforts, which we as Flint Park Conservancy 100%, agree to undertake on behalf of the project. And for people who may be watching this on LMC Media or see it in playback, whatnot, this will be, how fast this project moves will greatly depend on how quickly the money can be raised. And we all agree that a more beautiful Flint Park would be in everybody's best interest, but our dreams alone will not fund it. So, we look forward to any sponsorship opportunities to get into discussions with any groups that have an interest in helping us to fundraise. If you have a specific part of the park that speaks to you or a specific part of the project that's a passion of yours, we have been reaching out to different groups to try to strategize around fundraising. Obviously, this is not a small project, but we have all fundraised in the past and understand and appreciate what goes into that. And we are excited about the future and about, seeing this project through to fruition. So we look forward to continuing to establish those partnerships and to work with those in the village and outside of it at the county level, maybe at the grant level, to try to, supplement what needs to be raised to get this accomplished. So, but this is a very generous community and a community that cares deeply about its green spaces. So we're very, positive about moving forward in this direction, for sure.
Thanks, Laura. And do you guys have a website where people who might be interested in learning how to contact you, et cetera, can go?
Yes.
Mel?
So it's flintpark.org.
Flintpark.org. Can't get easier than that.
Tried to make it easy.
Yeah.
It's
Very
really
good.
complicated because we also have the Flint 100. It's flint100.org also points to it. But yes,
Okay.
both work. So please, we encourage
Both have working donate buttons, so it's fine.
Yes, well said, Laura.
Okay, very good. So as I stated at the beginning, the Parks and Trees Committee and the Board of Trustees have reviewed various iterations of this proposal over many months. And our last set of questions were answered by the Conservancy, and we've reached the point where it's time for us to make a resolution to approve the project moving forward, and to create a capital fund for the project. And we'll at that point move into conversation about getting a memorandum of understanding with the Flint Park Conservancy, which we can discuss those details at a later date. But we've done that generally with our other large park renovations, where we have an organization, fundraising, and a lot of different players lay out the parameters for how everything's going to work. And then we can also start drilling into the budget and talking about moving towards creation of bid documents and phasing the timeline. Now that we're at this point, we can actually start looking at the calendar and saying, how's this going to work out in relation to seasonality, weather, and league uses for the park. Justin, did I miss anything, leave anything out in that? No?
No, you hit all the points.
Okay. So then if any of the board members have any additional questions at this point that they'd like to have answered before we move to a vote, please ask them now. Otherwise, I'll move on.
I just have a very minuscule question. The paddle courts, snow removal off the courts, are you thinking about radiant heat? Or how do you want to do that in terms of, considering that the courts are so active, how do you want to clear the snow off the courts?
The estimates that we've gotten include putting heaters under the courts. It all depends on the actual weather conditions. If there's a ton of snow, and it's still below freezing temperatures, you don't necessarily want to use heaters that would be like creating a melting freezing cycle. Yeah. So there would still be a need for some snow removal. So that would have to be figured out as part of the maintenance or a partnership with DPW. But yes, the proposal does include heaters. And the great thing about that is, if there's a light snowfall or even rain, the courts will still be playable because they will keep the courts dry.
Okay. That was it. The other question I had was, I noticed that Field A has been removed and Field B is in play. That's going to be the little league field, right, with the 60-foot bases.
It's not the T-ball. It's the smallest of the green and gold Little League field. That's at Field A, yes. Pursuant to an agreement that was reached with Field for Kids and Larchmont Mamaroneck Little League many years ago regarding field usage on Flint Front. But yes, we are aware of it, and we've been working with baseball and with those stakeholders at Lorenzen Park to try to identify solutions for that issue. But that was something that was agreed to in writing some time ago, and really presents a problem in the spring, in the fall time for soccer usage on the front field.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'm going to seek a motion to approve the Flint Park renovation project and direct the treasurer to create a capital project account. And I think that's about it. I think that wraps it up. So I seek a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you so much to
you.
everyone in the Flint Park Conservancy and on this meeting today for bringing this forward and for all the hard work that's to come.
Exactly. Not just in the past. Thank you so
Cheese
much.
parties.
Thank you all.
So we'll be in touch as to the next steps, but now we need to move this into fast motion.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Signing off.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Yep.
Night.
Right. Next up on our agenda, we have a report from the police chief, Chief McNerney.
Yes, hi, good evening, Mayor Walsh and Village Trustees. I'm going to start with discussing some recent crime trends and then move on to some department news. On January 12th, we received 2 reports of unrelated bank fraud. In the first case, a Larchmont Avenue resident reported receiving a letter from TD Bank confirming a change of address that was requested on the account. The new address was located in Rhode Island, and our resident did not make that request. The second report was by a Went Avenue resident. She reported that she received a letter from Key Bank advising of a new bank account in her name. She stated that she'd never banked with Key Bank nor opened any account. I mention this because these types of fraud offenses are very common, and residents have the ability to file fraud alerts with the 3 credit reporting agencies. Those are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And they should regularly check their accounts and change passwords to very strong ones and monitor their credit reports as well. If a resident finds any questionable or fraudulent activity, they should contact their banking institution and file a police report. On January 15th, a Roosevelt Avenue resident reported his 2020 Mercedes-Benz GL 350 was stolen sometime during the overnight hours. It's believed the vehicle was unlocked and the key fob was inside the vehicle. Also on January 15th, a Willow Avenue resident reported that his unlocked 2007 Toyota Highlander was rummaged through during the overnight hours and his garage door remote opener was stolen. On January 16th, the Grove Avenue resident reported his 2021 BMW X4 was stolen sometime during the overnight hours. It's believed the vehicle was unlocked also with the key fob inside. So you're seeing the trend here, and we're reminding residents to lock their cars every evening, remove their key fobs and all their valuables. On January 17th, a Larchmont Avenue resident reported a possible scam involving an individual or individuals fraudulently posing as representatives of Larchmont Plumbing and Heating on the social media platform Nextdoor. Here, the resident called the number listed on Nextdoor, and within 20 minutes, 2 individuals arrived at her home. They cleared a clogged drain and charged the resident $950. When the resident complained about the price on the Nextdoor platform, the owner of Larchmont Plumbing and Heating responded to the resident, advised that his company did not respond to the residents and someone was falsely impersonating his business. The resident was able to stop payment on the check and no funds were withdrawn from her account. I mention this to advise our residents of another scam that they should be aware of and to be careful when soliciting contractors on social media. And Westchester County offers a resource to check for licensed contractors or tradespeople on the Westchester County Department of Consumer Protection website. On January 27th, an East Avenue resident reported that he parked his 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe in Lot 7 during the overnight hours. And when he started his vehicle the following morning, he noticed a mechanical issue with his car. He drove the car to the dealership and was advised that someone had attempted to steal the catalytic converter. The converter was damaged, but not stolen. And this is a crime trend we're seeing throughout the tri-state region. The catalytic converters are targeted for high resale value and for high scrap metal value, as they're made of precious metals. We're working with the Westchester County Police Department Real-Time Crime Center on this particular crime pattern. So moving on to department news, on January 1st, I was informed that 2 of our current officers and 1 former officer are being honored by the Westchester County and the Journal News for the 2021 Police Honor Awards. The officers were selected for this honor as a result of their brave and intelligent actions on April 11th, 2021. Sergeant John Despenda, Police Officer Nick Field, and former Police Officer Jared Pinella, along with 3 members of the Village of Mamaroneck Police Department, were recognized for their actions when they responded to a devastating, fatal motor vehicle accident, entered a heavily damaged vehicle, fully engulfed in fire, and heroically rescued 2 females trapped inside. The officers exposed themselves to grave danger, sustaining injuries while sacrificing their own safety and saving the lives of 2 injured females. Tragically, one female that was ejected from the vehicle at the time of the impact did not survive. The date of the formal award ceremony has not been announced. For law enforcement, this is one of the highest honors that's awarded in Westchester County, and I want to congratulate our officers for their outstanding actions and this prestigious award. And in other department news, our first hybrid marked police vehicle went into service in January. We had one mechanical issue. Other than that, the feedback has been good. I mentioned at our last meeting, we had 2 retirements in the police department. Matt Irvine and Scott Schnall each retired after 19 and 27 years of service to the village, respectively. We also welcomed 2 new additions to the police department that filled prior police officer vacancies. Those officers will be formally sworn in and introduced at our March meeting. I'm very happy to say that we did not have a positive COVID case in the police department during the month of January and thus far into February, after limiting the number to 3 in December. Thank you to Chief Caporelli and our Sergeant Joe Propota for working hard and getting regular cleanings done of our buildings and vehicles. And over the last few weeks, I've been working on both the operating and capital budgets to minimize any increases. I've met with Administrator Dottino and representatives from the Treasurer's Office, and those meetings are continuing. And that does it for my report, unless there's any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. A couple of meetings ago, you were getting the body cams. Have they arrived and are they successful?
They piloted, before I came here, I believe they piloted 1 body camera. We're awaiting the second body camera, from the second vendor.
Yes.
So the feedback on the body cameras was good, but we're awaiting the next vendor's equipment.
Excellent.
So yes, congratulations to those 3 officers on this award. I remember that accident, and it was really very horrific. And I'm sure it was a very traumatic event for them to have to go through, but they did an amazing job in saving the lives of those 2 young women. Please let us know when you have the date and location for the award ceremony. I'm sure we'd like to attend if that's possible.
Will do.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to the fire chief's report. Chief Caporelli.
Hello, good evening, everybody. This past month, the fire department has been spared any alarms of significance, but thus far this year, we did answer 95 calls for assistance of various natures. The latest snow and wind event of last week was uneventful as far as damage to the village was concerned. The fire alarm system for the village hall has been experiencing some trouble over the past year or so, and it has been repaired as the trouble alerts did arise. But it did experience one last trouble alert that required a new motherboard to be installed. The cost was not practical, so Administrator Dottino authorized a new updated fire alarm panel and battery backup system to be installed, and all devices were tested today, and the system should be fully operational. He was not complete by the time I left, but it was working when I left. Tower Ladder 7, I did report last meeting that it did have some mechanical issues and was out of service, but it has been repaired and is fully operational. In fact, Tower Ladder 7 did respond twice to the town of Mamaroneck fires over the past week without any issues. After a fire in the Bronx high-rise that killed 17 people a couple of weeks ago, fire officials are focusing on simple safety measures that can help in the earliest moments of a blaze. Fire officials say that the lethal smoke that killed 17 people probably spread so fast because one simple tool for containing just such a blaze failed amid the panic to escape. The resident of the apartment where the fire broke out told authorities in his haste, he forgot to close the door behind him. A self-closing mechanism malfunctioned, clearing a path for smoke and toxic gases to fill a 19-story tower. Closing the door can be one of the most critical actions people can take to stop the spread and save lives when confronting a fire. Fires feed off of oxygen. When a door is left open, it provides a source of air fueling the flames. Closing doors can cut off the flow, slowly starving the fire of that much needed fuel. It can also provide one of the most effective barriers to temporarily inhibit the spread of flames and smoke, giving firefighters crucial time to respond. Part of everybody's fire escape plan should be always remember to close before you doze. Switching to my code enforcement role, I've been working on the outdoor dining spaces. They're being monitored continuously along with Public Safety Supervisor Rick Vettery. We are reconfiguring spaces to reflect increases and decreases in use. I'd like to finally remind all residents and business owners that Village Code 24511 requires snow to be removed from the public right-of-way, the sidewalk, within 24 hours of the snow event. Please shovel out fire hydrants on or near your property. A buried or frozen hydrant causes major delays in firefighting operations. Heating systems and fireplaces, chimneys should be checked for proper operation. And if you experience a power outage and utilize a portable generator, please remember to only operate these devices outdoors, at least 10 feet from any window or door. Only fuel these devices when off and not running. Never operate these devices or any gasoline-powered device inside your garage. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, and tasteless silent killer. Please follow all manufacturers' instructions. And outdoor fire pit should be at least 10 feet from combustibles. Adult supervision and a fire extinguisher should be nearby at all times. And finally, place fireplace ash in a metal container at least 10 feet from your home. Never place it in a trash container or other combustible container. And you can soak it with water to be sure it is finally extinguished. And that completes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chief, I don't have a question, but I have a suggestion or a request.
Sure.
If you or one of the lieutenants could please write up something for the next village newsletter on the importance of closing doors. And if there's a particular instructional video that we could point to or embed the link, that would be wonderful as well.
Yeah, we're working on it right now. You
Perhaps
asked me
something
about a
that
week
people,
ago.
yeah, so that people could be, who have children might be able to watch it with their kids.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Next up, report from our attorney.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Report from our treasurer.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. And now we go to trustee reports, and we're going to start with Trustee Brennan.
Just wanted to highlight a workshop that's coming up with the Larchmont Environmental Committee. As everybody knows, the leaf blower ban goes into effect this year. And with all new things, there is change, which also requires some adjusting. And so LEC is trying to help that process along by providing a free workshop for landscapers. It's going to happen on March 1st. It's a two-part workshop. One will be held in the village center. That will be sort of a classroom training, and then everyone will be invited to go across to Constitutional Park for demonstrations of electrical equipment. I just want to highlight that, the leaf blower ban not only is great for our sound pollution and for our health and for our lawns, but it also is really good for the landscaper's health. And so this is a great way for you to help your landscaper and their staff by inviting them to come to this workshop and participate and learn about the electrical equipment that could make their job a little easier. If it rains that day, they have a plan. It will be held the next day, March 2nd. So you will start to see more PR about this. I know that LEC is working on that. I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up to save that date and let your landscaper know about it.
Thank you. Trustee Post.
I have nothing to report. Thanks.
Trustee Bauer.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Trustee Finelli.
I have a little something.
Never disappoints.
I'd like to congratulate the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee for a wonderful Zoom Martin Luther King meeting/show. It was extremely informative, and the children's notes about history and the singing of the local children's choir were amazing and received really nicely. I want to also thank LMC Media for working with the LMHRC for getting the Zoom project together and looking and sounding very professional. I know that whole process came together in about 10 days, and we talked about it the other night at the meeting, and it got really great reviews, and we're really happy about that. Just Flint Park now is looking for lifeguards and counselors. For anyone interested, please contact recreation@villageofhall.org. Excuse me, at villageoflarchmont.org. Flint Park paddle tennis. The paddle courts are open, and paddle is in full swing. If you're interested in playing paddle tennis, you will need a permit to play. Click on villageoflarchmont.org, Flint Park paddle permits, if you're interested in paddle clinics. Please visit recreation@villageoflarchmont.org. If you want to be a firefighter, we're still always looking. Our winter campaign is in full swing for anybody that's interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter. If you are, please go to the firehouse, ask for an application. You can talk to Chief Caparelli, he's very receptive, or one of the firefighters that are in the security room. And that's about it. Short and sweet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Finelli. Administrator report, and maybe you're going to just roll right on into the resolutions.
Just a brief thank you to DPW for doing a good job with the snow removal. I mean, they've really got it down to a science now. The equipment is always ready to go. The guys are out there on time and working through the night to make sure that by the time the precipitation stops, our roads are already done. So thank you to Rick and the team in DPW. They always step up to the plate. Also, thank you to Westchester County. We borrowed one of their dump trucks to help with snow removal during that time period because one of our trucks is down, waiting for parts for 3 months, which is pretty incredible. We're waiting for one piece for about 3 months now, which is it has the truck down. We can't use it. So it's pretty incredible. Normally that part would be on someone's shelf for about a 2-week out at the most. So sign of the times.
Yep.
On to resolutions. We have a resolution to set up a public hearing with regard to the property tax cap as established by New York State. Again, just a short recap, since about, I think, 2010, the state enacted a law in which a local government that desires to pass a budget with a tax levy that is in excess of whatever the state says, up to 2%, needs to do so in the case of the village by a majority vote of the board and by adopting a local law. So by reference, we've had past years where due to inflation, the tax cap might be less than 2%, but that was kind of in correlation with inflation at the time. But that cap stops at 2%. The state controller's office has issued a 4.37 inflation factor for our budget, but it does not increase that 2%. So we're working on the budget now. This is an annual effort for us. It reserves the village's right to adopt a law if necessary, and due to the timing and schedule of meetings, it's been prudent that we at least set the public hearing and hold the public hearing as we work on our budget and decide from a budgetary perspective whether or not this is going to be needed. And again, this would set a public hearing for next month, the March meeting.
Very good. So I seek are there any questions from any of the board members on this resolution? Not hearing any. So I seek a motion to approve the resolution to schedule a public hearing authorizing a real property tax levy in excess of the New York State tax cap for Monday, March 14, 2022 at 7:30 p.m.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Great.
The second resolution pertains to a lease renewal. Sorry. The second resolution pertains to a lease renewal. And again, this probably predates me by decades that the village has been leasing this area of parking lot, which most would probably think doesn't even belong to the village, but it does. It's about a third of the CVS lot adjacent to Addison Park, to CVS or whomever the commercial entity was at the time, but now it's CVS.
It was Grand Union.
Grand Union.
Just so you know, right?
So now we're at CVS, and the mayor was instrumental in negotiating the current lease, which provides for the renewal. So all we're really doing now is accepting the CVS's interest in renewing the lease for the terms that are already spelled out in the agreement for the succeeding 5 years. So the letter has been received by CVS corporate. The village clerk forwarded to the village attorney for review. The village attorney's office and myself had discussions with regard to, how the last 5 years went. And I think we're all in unanimous agreement that it's in the best interest of the village and, quite honestly, CVS to renew this agreement for 5 more years.
Does anyone on the board have questions about this? Because I know some of you were not around for the previous negotiation of the lease agreement.
My only comment would be that we need to put something in there about making sure that lot stays clean.
It's already in there. That's
Thank
why Chief Caparelli is able to go to them occasionally and remind them of that. And also, they repaved it and repainted it. Now I'm thinking maybe 3 years ago, and they restriped it last year again.
Right.
Okay.
No more questions? So I seek a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the village administrator to execute the lease renewal agreement with CVS.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. And the final order of business is,
I'll take this one.
you'll take it. Thank you.
Sure. Well, forwarded to me by Trustee Brennan, who is the liaison to the Traffic Commission, was a decision by the Traffic Commission to add 2 additional stop signs at the intersection of Willow Avenue and Beach Avenue. Currently, there are stop signs on Willow at Beach, and they have decided to add 2 stop signs on Beach at Willow, thereby making it a 4-way stop sign. So this resolution is to make that change to the village's vehicle and traffic code. So I'll go back up to the top. So is a resolution to amend chapter 273-48 of the Larchmont Village Code, which is section schedule 9 through streets. And what we've done on here is I have added in Willow Avenue and the cross street as Beach. So the stop signs will be placed on Beach Avenue as the cross street to Willow. So do I have a motion to approve this resolution to amend chapter 273-48?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
And I just want to say, I was chatting with a neighbor the other day, and they are extremely happy about these 2 stop signs.
That's great. I hope it improves the situation over there.
Yes.
Very good. That's it for resolutions. We are up to hear those persons who wish to address the board. Considering we have no attendees in our attendee slot, there is no one who wishes to address the board. So we move on to number 12, approve the minutes of the meeting of January 10th. And here's a fun one. I wasn't there, so I can't vote. So I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Sarah Bauer, who chaired the meeting, and she can seek motions, etc.
So I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Larchmont held on Monday, January 10th, 2022. Do I have a
So
motion?
So
Do I have a
moved.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Mayor, is this your first one that you missed as a mayor?
No, I think I missed one 3 years ago, and maybe when I was in India and Carol Herman chaired it.
There you go.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was my first meeting of missing. I was out the 10th as well.
Yes. For a very good reason,
Yeah.
which we heard a little bit of in the background tonight.
Yes.
We had no work session minutes, so moving on to our final item on the agenda, number 13, the approval of the bills. I'll turn it over to Trustee Brennan.
The best for last.
Yep.
Okay.
Always.
I've reviewed invoices associated with check register 311491 for bill list dated today, February 7, 2022. They appear to be in order. There are other invoices that were on the paid in advance list, which I will address under a separate resolution. I move at this time that the board resolve to pay all the invoices listed therein in the amount of $303,032.74. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now on to the motion for bills paid. I've reviewed the paid invoices associated with that bill list dated on February 7th, 2022. They also appear to be in order. I move that the board ratify all invoices listed therein in the amount of $815,127.55. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We can pay our bills, James.
Great. Very happy. That being all of the items on our agenda, I seek a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, LMC
Thank you.
Media.
Everyone, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.